Hello there, students. Thank you for being part of this presentation. My name is Luis Silva, and today we're looking at the Cold War 1945 to 1991, and this is part 3. Let's move on. What will we learn today? Today we're going to explain the arms race, include development of the hydrogen bomb in 1954, and also SALT, the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty of 1972. From 1945 all the way to 1991, the United States and the Soviet Union used a variety of strategies to win the Cold War. In the early years of the Cold War, 1945 to 1949, the United States used containment policy to successfully stop the spread of communism in Europe. One of those policies included the Truman Doctrine. Another policy included the Marshall Plan. Also included here is NATO, the alliance between the United States and many other nations. The Berlin airlifts. All of these containment strategies really helped the United States in stopping the spread of communism in Western Europe. But communism did spread to other parts of the world. When communism spread to China in 1949, the United States feared the domino theory and became more aggressive in its effort to stop communism. The United States went to war in Korea to defend South Korea from communism. The Soviet Union supplied weapons to the communists in North Korea during this war. The type of indirect fight between the United States and the USSR is known as a proxy war. From 1949 to 1970, the Cold War escalated as a result of a nuclear arms race, space race, and espionage, spying on each other, the United States and the Soviet Union. The U.S. monopoly on nuclear weapons came to an end in 1949 when the USSR successfully tested an atomic bomb. Here we have an image of that nuclear weapon that was tested by the Soviet Union. The Soviet development of the atomic bomb led to a nuclear arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. In the year 1952, the United States was able to test the first hydrogen bomb, which is 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb. This was something big for the United States. Here we have an image of this particular test in 1952. But the Soviet Union did not stay quiet. They responded by detonating its own hydrogen bomb in 1953. By 1959, both the United States and the Soviet Union developed rockets called intercontinental ballistic missiles that could deliver nuclear warheads to distant targets. Here we have some of the images that shows us some of those intercontinental ballistic missiles. And here we have an image of a Soviet transporter. Here we have an image of a US submarine. You see how it could launch missiles. These are some of the missiles that the United States was capable of using to target any country. In the 1950s, US President Eisenhower escalated the Cold War by using brinkmanship, or threatening to use nuclear weapons and willingness to go to the brink of war. If you see the map to the left, you see that each country, the United States as well as the Soviet Union, had many capabilities with different air bases, different missile sites, and that these two countries were on the verge of going to total war, total destruction. Now, if the USSR attacked a NATO member, the US would use massive retaliation, attack every major Soviet city and military target. As a result, the United States and the USSR began stockpiling nuclear weapons and building up their militaries. If you look at the numbers here to the left, US Soviet military power in 1996 to 1997, you see that the Soviets have many advantages over the United States. You're more than welcome to pause this video so that you can examine each category carefully. With the United States and the Soviet Union in possession of large nuclear stockpiles, each side could destroy each other. This was known as mutually assured destruction, or MAD. Throughout the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union looked for ways to gain first strike capabilities. In 1957, the Soviet Union used its first intercontinental ballistic missile to launch Sputnik, the first satellite into space. Sputnik shocked Americans who feared the US had fallen behind the USSR in science as well as technology. As a result of Sputnik, the Cold War escalated into a space race to show American and Soviet dominance. In 1958, the United States created the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or better known as NASA today, in order to catch up to the Soviet Union. US schools went ahead and promoted math, science, and technology in order to catch up with the Soviet Union. You're more than welcome again to pause this video so you can look at the big events, important events in the United States as well as Soviet Union from 1957 all the way to 1975. Here's an image of NASA's original Mercury astronauts. Now, the Soviet Union repeatedly beat the United States in space by launching the first man into orbit and orbiting the moon. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy committed the United States to beating the Soviet Union in the race to the moon. And in 1969, Apollo 11 landed U.S. astronaut on the moon. This was one of the biggest accomplishments that the United States was able to carry out. During the Cold War, the United States, as well as the Soviet Union, created intelligence agencies such as the CIA and the KGB in order to spy and carry out covert operations. The United States and the USSR were able to use spies to gather intelligence on each other. And you have an image here of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. They were convicted as spies. On top of using human intelligence, people to spy, both the United States and Soviet Union also used spy planes to gather information on each other. Here we have an image of a U-2 spy plane. Very important to see what each other was doing, in this case, the United States and the Soviet Union. The Cold War escalated as the threat of communism spread into the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. Here we have a map in which we see the different Cold War hotspots between 1948 and 1975. You see that Latin America is involved there, Cuba, Guatemala, Bolivia. You also see that parts of the Middle East are there, and very important events were taking place around the world as the United States was aiming to stop the spread of communism, while the Soviet Union was pushing really hard to bring more countries on board as communist nations. The CIA overthrew the governments of Iran and Guatemala and intervened in Egypt, Bolivia, Chile, and Cuba to stop communism. This is very important because many of these nations now, in modern times, reject the United States as they see that the United States did harm to their countries by intervening. The Cuban Missile Crisis brought the United States and Soviet Union to a near nuclear war in 1962. These were very tense moments as the American people were very afraid that the Soviet Union would target them directly by putting missiles in Cuba. Fortunately, the United States and the Soviet Union were able to negotiate and come to a peaceful solution to the Cuban Missile Crisis. We have come to the end of this presentation. Please make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next presentation.